Hey, what's up everybody? Today we're going to talk about how inputs from our motors can be used to control things like arms or wheels or really anything that we want to move with a motor. So let's get straight into that. So I have my arm mechanism here. This mechanism is what's called a 4-bar, all right? So a 4-bar is not something that I've invented. I wish I could take credit for it, but this is something that we used in high school robotics a bunch of times and stuff like that. 4-bar just simply means that it's made up of 4 bars. The 2 vertical bars always remain parallel to one another. The 2 horizontal bars remain parallel to one another. If you want to try a 4-bar, they are a cool mechanism. Your 2 vertical members are the members that are parallel to one another, however you want to call it, they need to be the same size. Okay, so this member and this member are the same length. This member and this member are the same length, or at least the pivots. You can see this one goes further, but from here to here and from here to here is exactly the same. Anyways, the physical part of this doesn't really matter, but what does matter right now is what's going on inside of this motor. So inside this motor we have what's called an encoder, or what's technically an absolute encoder in this case, and it knows the position of this motor all the time. We can see this up here. So again, my motor is motor D that controls this thing, okay? And if we take a look, which you can't zoom in, but when my motor is all the way up, or when my arm is all the way up, I am measuring about 290 degrees. When my arm comes down and touches the ground, I'm measuring 37 degrees. Okay, so we go from 37 to 0. Then on the opposite side of 360, we start counting down again. All right, so I'm in the middle here. So I'm going to use that to control the position, and we're going to just work on getting my arm to come down. So it's just above my tabletop, and then come up so that it is up pretty high, but importantly, I don't really want it to be touching the motor, because if it's trying to go past the motor, it's going to run the motor constantly. So I really want to stop it to where there's a slight gap in between these places, okay? And I'm going to teach you all how to do that. So first thing we need is a when program starts. I'm going to put a delay in here to begin with, because the way that my coding video program works, I need to play and then make this big so you guys can see it better. So I'm going to delay 1 second, maybe 2. You don't have to do that. That's just strictly for videography. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this repeat until block. Now, a repeat until is kind of the opposite of an if. An if block, we say, okay, if this condition is true, such as if the B color is red. If the B sees red, then it enters into this box. A repeat until is the opposite. Here it says repeat until B is red, meaning that it will continuously do this thing down here until it sees the color red. And then at that point, it would get kicked out of this repeat until block, and it would continue down in our list of stuff. So a repeat until will repeat the block until this condition is true. An if won't do anything with what's inside of here until this is true. So a repeat until is what we're going to use right now. And I just want to show you a bit of a problem that you might run into. Let's say that I bring this down to the table, and again, I want it to be a little bit off of the table, a little bit off the table. D is equal to about 32 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to motors, and again, it's my D motor. So actually, let's start by setting my speed of my D motor. I want to slow it way down. An arm does not need to go fast. And then I'm also going to have it move my D motor. And then when it's done, I'm going to have it stop moving my D motor. But notice that the stop motor is outside of the repeat until. So once this is true, it's it's going to kick us out. Now let's get the condition in this case. So in this case, we're going to say, we're going to first start with like a blank window is equal to 100. We can put whatever numbers we want in here or whatever inputs we want. One of those inputs again comes from motors, and that is motor A position. Now again, we're working with the D motor, so I'm going to change that. So we're going to repeat until the motor D position is like where we want it, which is about 31, 32 degrees. Let's say 31 degrees. All right. So I'm going to move my motor up, something like this. Let's see what happens. Play. Okay. Now, that actually did work pretty good. What am I at right now? 33 degrees. I went like a bit further than I ought to have. Let's hit stop so I can move this by hand. I'm going to move this up. Let's try it again. That works pretty good too. Let's try and speed this up some. This might work a little bit less good now. Let's try it again. Okay, so that time, like, I am hitting the table, but I'm not going like super far beyond. So honestly, like, this isn't so bad. If you can get your products, let's see here, let's change this to like 28. Let's stop it. Let's move it up. If you can get your arm to stop moving, like where you want it, see, there's an issue where it went beyond. So this is the thing that I've been trying to show you all along. So what happened here is my arm has gone way past where it ought to have, right? I mean, my arm's down here. You can see what a gap there is between the arm and the wheel. So this is like literally just picking my robot up off of the table. So what happened here is that when we go to check D position, if at one point we check D position and it's like 27, and then the next moment we check D position, it's like 29, it never was equal to 28, so it doesn't know to stop. And that does happen with motors like quite often. So again, I did speed this thing up some. Maybe if I go back to 25 and I hit play. Yeah, so again, it did the exact same thing. So let me show you how we're going to fix that problem. So instead of just checking one, we're going to use an AND block, which again, we talked about this during line following, but an AND block, this condition and this condition needs to be true. So we're going to repeat until both conditions are true. We are going to grab a greater than box and a less than box here. And now what we're going to do is instead of saying, I want you to stop at this exact point, we're going to give it a tiny bit of variance. We're going to say, we want you to stop somewhere in between these 2 points. And that's going to be a lot more successful over the long run. So, again, we're going to grab this motor D position. We're going to do that for both of these. And we're going to say, in my case, when my arm comes down, I want my motor D position to be like greater than maybe like 31 degrees. And on the opposite end, I want to give it some slack. So it can come up like a tiny bit. Maybe like, let's say no, that's too close. 31. Let's say like, I don't know, 28 or so. So now, D position has to be greater than 31, but less than 28. Now I have those numbers backwards. I have those backwards. I want my D position to be greater than 28, and my D position to be less than 31. And I might like tweak that a little bit more, but we'll see. So if we bring this up now, again, if the D position is like 29 or 30, then it's going to stop. So let's see if this works. Okay, that actually did work. Let's try that one more time. Let's make it big for you. Bingo. So that stops my arm where I want it to be, which is really good. So it's time to move on to the next process here. So let's get our arm to move up next, all right? So I am going to put a 2-second delay just in between, like it going down and then it coming back up again. But I am going to duplicate everything else. I'm going to get rid of that. And then we're going to move on to this here. So now we need to worry about our arm coming up. And again, I don't want it to smash into this motor when it comes up. So my highest position is going to be about 292. Again, you can see that number right here. And then honestly, like a tiny bit lower than that is also okay. What's that reading right now? About 297. So let's say like 297 to 292. So D position needs to be greater than 292, but it needs to be less than 297. And we are going to flip it. The motor is going to go the opposite direction because it's going to come up. So let's hit play. There it goes down. 2 seconds later, comes back up. And let's see if I can show you. There is like a gap. Where is it? Like in here. You can see my finger back there in between the two. I mean, it's a slight gap. It's bigger in real life than I can show you on the camera right now, but it's there. If I hit stop and then play again, go down, then it'll come up, right? Which is exactly what we're looking for here. So that fixes, or that sets us up for being able to control like arms. I know a lot of you are using arms to like grab the block in some way, shape, or form. And that's like a pretty good way to control things. Now, are there simpler ways than this? Yes. But this is probably going to give you the most successful outcomes, which is why I'm teaching it to you. All right? I hope that that was helpful. If it was, please make sure to go to YouTube and like and subscribe the video for me so that the algorithm pushes it to more people. I hope that you all have a wonderful day and good luck programming your arms. Bye-bye.